to bring on the positive vibe.
Right, all right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Soul Purpose Show. I am your host, Keith, and
Hello, everybody. I'm Monica.
are those new glasses?
They are new glasses. I'm trying to figure out if I like them or if the reflection off of the light is a little. But yes, they are new. I'm just trying to figure out if I like them or not.
Well, you look kind of cute.
Thank you. You're a little different, so I'm gonna rock them for today. And let y'all tell me that y'all don't like them.
So we are back
because it's distracting, not because you think they're unattractive. Because I think they're attractive.
Right.
They very well could be distracting. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we are back, folks. We're Soul Purpose Show. We're seen every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, right here on In Touch News Internet Radio, heard all over the world. We're streaming live on Facebook. I think we're also streaming live on Instagram as well.
We are. We're trying something a little new. This is, I think, our third time doing this. So we're trying to stream. We have an Instagram stream, and we also have a Facebook stream. So we're trying to kind of do double duty.
We're making it do what it do.
We're trying real hard.
Thank y'all for tuning in every Saturday. We've been talking about a segment we call the Love Maze, which is relationship advice and topics for those of you who are trying to navigate your way through relationships. So that's what we've done for the month of June. So we usually would do a recap for the month of June, or at the end of the month, we'll do a recap of that month. But I have to tell you, our hearts are a little heavy today because we want to start out by saying our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to the victims of the building collapse down in Miami.
Yes.
It was horrible. I think the last count, there were 4 confirmed dead.
Okay.
And at first they told us that there were 99 people that were unaccounted for. And now that number is like up to like 150 people that are unaccounted for. So
I was actually very surprised when the number was so low, because if you looked at the pictures of the building, like the whole side of the building came down. What is interesting, though, is as I was listening to some of the coverage about the collapse, is that engineers have known since at least the 90s that there was something going on underneath the soil. So it will be interesting to see kind of the reasonings behind why this happened. It's extremely unfortunate. Our prayers do go out to the families. The lawyer side of me is thinking a lot of people about to get sued, and the why, how and why did that happen are the big question.
And a lot of folks don't recognize that what's making this search and rescue so difficult is, and by the way, there's no more volunteers needed. They got all of the volunteers they need. These are professional search and recover folks that are on the scene at this point. But what makes that so difficult is we're talking about a half a building that has collapsed.
Yes.
And so in addition to the rubble and just navigating through that, there's another half a building that's still standing there that they have some real concerns over how stable it is. So what we want to try to avoid is like another 911 situation.
With a whole building
we take all of our emergency responders and we and they rush into the building, not even understanding that the building is about to.
Now, have they evacuated the other side? Full disclosure, I have not really been. It's a super sad situation, so I try to maintain my peace and not clutter. I'm praying for the families for sure, but I haven't really been following it intently. So I'm assuming that they have evacuated the other side.
Well, and I would imagine that they probably have cleared kind of the whole area around there because they don't know how stable the buildings are. But anyway, so our hearts are a little heavy today because there's that situation going on. And I don't know that you've noticed, you probably have noticed that my wife and I are both sporting our alma mater's gear again, really for the second week in a row.
Yeah, I actually wore Juneteenth last week, but you did wear a FAMU last week.
I did wear a FAMU.
So this week, I think Thursday evening, our beloved former president, Dr. Frederick Humphreys, who was the 8th president of Florida A&M University, passed away at the age of 85. We are both Humphreys era Rattlers. He was there from 1985 to 2001. I believe my sister was the last class that he was president, and she actually participated in his last commencement.
You got a compliment on your glasses.
Oh, thank you. I had to take them off though because there was a glare. I'm kind of trying to look. It was a glare, and I know I'll get comments later.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. But so Dr. Humphreys passed on Thursday, and the Rattler Nation is pretty very sad and very heavy hearted. I will say, because of how he was the president of Tennessee State University as well prior to coming to A&M, but he was a Rattler, graduated magna cum laude I think in 1957, from Florida. Graduated magna cum laude in chemistry, then got his PhD from University of Pittsburgh. Interesting fun fact, a childhood friend, a family friend from West Palm Beach, I don't have his permission to use his name, but he, brilliant. And Dr. Humphreys, I remember this is one of the reasons why I was interested in going to A&M, is because Dr. Humphreys made a special trip down to recruit him because he was headed to Brown University on a full academic scholarship. And Dr. Humphreys came down, recruited him, and then encouraged him, if you want, because he was a chemistry major, are going to be in the sciences, and was able to convince my family friend to attend Florida A&M University. And then when he graduated, he did follow in Dr. Humphreys' footsteps and went to University of Pittsburgh. So my timeline on Facebook has been filled with tributes. My timeline on Instagram has been filled with tributes to Dr. Humphreys. I think his impact on a generation of Black professionals is without question. Our condolences go to his family in their time of bereavement. Homecoming to be a little different this year. We're accustomed to seeing him at homecoming and classic, and so to be a little bit different. But it took my breath away. It made me have to sit down and just kind of reflect. I actually had to share with Keith. I tend not to take pictures with celebrities or people who, just because I don't want to feel like I'm invading their space. That's just a personal thing for me. But the last time I saw Dr. Humphreys was at the Florida Classic, and I was just sitting down at a table. Waiting. I don't know. I was just kind of sitting in the lobby, and he came into the hotel and said, "Young lady, can I sit right here?" I said, "You absolutely can sit right here." And so he sat down next to me, and we chatted for about 45 minutes. I shared with him that I was in the foundation. He asked me what I was doing now. I told him I was a lawyer, and just provided tons of wisdom just from his perspective on how to encourage more alumni to give, and recruiting phenomenal students, and some of the things that he did during his tenure. So I did not take a photo. It crossed my mind in that moment. I don't have very, very many regrets, but that is a regret that I did not take a picture with Dr. Humphreys in that moment. But I remember the conversation fondly. 45 minutes just sitting down, gaining wisdom. And so we are losing our ancestors. We are losing our icons, and they're becoming ancestors. And so the baton is swiftly being passed to a generation of folks, and it's our responsibility to keep his legacy alive and push on.
So many people have those kinds of stories about interaction with Dr. Humphreys. I, who don't like taking pictures at all.
You actually did take a picture. You did take a picture with him.
The last time I saw him, which was at a gathering, and he was there, and he was also a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, which is also my fraternity. So I think some of the brothers would just kind of gather around and take pictures. So I got an opportunity to just take a quick selfie with him, and I posted that, changed my profile picture to that, because the impact of Dr. Humphreys' era is immeasurable. Between he and Dr. Mobley at the School of Business, they were instrumental in bringing so many large companies, grants, funding, foundations, et cetera, to help build so many programs, physical buildings and actual programs at FAMU. So,
and the interesting thing, one of my friends on Facebook noted this. Brandon Johnson noted that on Thursday it was raining all over Florida. So the Rattler Charge begins with when the dark clouds. So dark clouds literally on Thursday were all over the state of Florida, and lightning and thunder struck in various parts of the state. So that little bit irony or did not go unnoticed. So
if you get an opportunity to go, just Google Rattler Charge, Dr. Humphreys, and see a video clip of him giving our charge. It'll. I mean, if you went to FAMU, then you would understand. So June was also an eventful month because of we talked about this, the passage of the Juneteenth bill. It is also Pride Month.
Yes.
So we want to touch on that a little bit later. And it is the celebration of Black Music Month as well. So stay tuned, because we're going to explain how Trick Day got canceled almost during this month. But anyway, let's begin.
I will say though, because of Black History Month, I know we have a whole outline, but these are
we have structure.
We do have structure, but you know,
follow the rules.
Yeah, well. So speaking of Black History Month, I'm gonna just put a pub out. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm a huge Mary J. Blige fan, like huge. So if she's in town, I'm going. I don't care how much tickets cost. I'm gonna figure out a way, eat bologna and cheese sandwiches to get really good seats. But she has a documentary. I didn't realize it's been 30 years since she's been in the game. So
30 years since the release of.
No, 30 years. No, My Life was released in 1994, so it's not 30 years yet for that.
Okay.
But she's been in the music industry for 30 years, for almost 30 years. So What's 411 came out in 1992, which was the beginning of my senior year in high school. But My Life came out in 94, which was my sophomore year in college. But the title of the documentary is My Life, and it's on Amazon Prime, and I highly recommend it. It is such a good movie, and if you such a good documentary, and if you are a Mary J. Blige fan, it'll make you love her even more. Oh, so Celebration of Black Music Month. Her documentary came out. Go check it out. Yes. And go ahead with the structure. I apologize.
Okay. Well, listen, we're going to begin with some Black girl Olympic magic.
Yes.
Because the Olympic trials are going on as we speak.
Yes.
And so we have a large representation of Black female Olympic athletes, some even in some non-traditional sports. But I think a lot of the spotlight is focused on what?
Track and field, baby. So I love the Olympics. I recognize that there's some debate about whether or not the Olympics should take place in light of the pandemic in Tokyo, but I'm here for it. So I'll be watching. So I've been set up the other night till midnight to watch the replay of the track and field trials. And there's this young lady from Dallas, Texas, or maybe just right outside Dallas, Texas, named Sha'Carri Richardson. Baby, with her orange hair and her long nails and tats and ring nose, and she is everything about her. I love, because she's so authentically herself. She is who she is, and she is a beast on the track. And she reminds me a lot of.
She's a beast at like 75 pounds. Something.
Yeah, she's tiny. She's like 5'1". I'm not sure how much she weighs, but she's tiny. But she reminds me a lot of Florence Flojo. Yeah. Just in terms of her just being eccentric and just making a statement, aside from her running, just making a statement on the track. So I watched her race. And she won the 100 meter, women's 100 meter in the Olympic trials. She is now on the Olympic track team, along with Allison Felix. I'm gonna talk about her in a second. But I wanted to talk about her because what I found interesting was on social media, people, particularly Black men. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Here we go.
They ain't gonna hear it. That's what y'all did it. So check your brothers. So Black men, instead of focusing on the fact that she's a beast on the track and field, and that she is just she's phenomenal. She had the collegiate record at LSU her freshman year, and now she's gone pro. Black men talked more about her hair, her hair and her nails, her appearance. Yeah. So so I'm pushing. First of all, why are we so concerned about how she wears her hair and how long her nails are versus focusing on her being a phenomenal athlete? And then I reflected on the fact that we do this y'all do this frequently. There are some Black women that engage in it too, but y'all do this frequently. Y'all talked about Gabby Douglas and her hair. Mm-hmm. Y'all talk about Serena Williams and how thick she is, and her hair and her makeup, and all these superficial things that we get caught up on, y'all get caught up on. Okay. There are some women that engage in it too, but for the most part, it's y'all. Instead of focusing on the fact that she's a phenomenal athlete, no one says anything. Like, there have been some track athletes with like blonde hair, and men athletes with like some weird, but just being eccentric type looks, and no one says anything about them.
Well, first of all, yes, people do say things about males who choose to have eccentric looks, but let's focus on your subject, because I think you're I think it's kind of like I'm hearing both sides of your mouth at the same time, because on the one side you're saying she's got like orange hair.
So
like,
what?
Hold on, wait a minute. No, I didn't interrupt you when you were giving your soliloquy. So the orange hair that flows all the way down here is not just long, fingernails. Fingernails on a track athlete, which would be, feminine, because you're not using your fingernails when you're competing, but exceedingly long fingernails, nose rings, tats, or whatever else you want to attribute to her persona, and then say all you guys can talk about is the way she looks. Well, because of the way she looks, that's what she.
But why does it matter to you? Why does it matter?
The reason why it matters is because she's obviously invested a lot of time, effort, and energy into looking eccentrically, and so when you look eccentrically,
or maybe she just
people are going to.
Well, maybe she just wants to have. And any other part is this.
Mm-hmm.
When we had this conversation, we were planning for the show. I said it's amazing to me that Black men have all this critique for Black women, but y'all don't say anything about white women that do it. Lady Gaga came to a music award show in a meat dress, a dress made of meat. I loved it because I understood the reasoning, but I didn't remember all this outrage from brothers. Oh, why she got on a meat dress? Or when she wears different color hair. I don't recall any of that. I don't recall when KK, who y'all like to has the bigger lips and has this whole voluptuous body that's clearly fake.
She's talking about Kim Kardashian.
So I don't recall this type of criticism. My point is that I don't recall this type of criticism and hate, because I'm just call it what it is, being focused and geared towards white women when they do essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
It's always geared towards Black women.
Yeah, and the only thing
we're supposed to dress to make you all happy.
But this is a full disclosure show, right? So we pull back the veil, and so I don't mind telling you. Black men talk about white women's looks all the time. We talk
publicly.
About. Hold on. We talk. Yeah, well, right. We talk about the way Kim Kardashian looks with each other because of the way she looks, and we make the same comments. We're not focused on the fact that she's a marketing genius, and that she set all kinds of records in terms of her social media reach. Like, we're not talking about those things. We're talking about the way she looks because she looks like that. So we do make those comments. We just don't make those comments to you because that's not a conversation that we have with other Black women. And here's my real point. When we are in conversations with you, we're probably having conversations about things that are relatable to the both of us, which is, Black female athletes. And so we're saying kind of some of the same things. It's just that you don't see those comments being made public.
And that's my point. My point is that the commentary,
you just don't hear them.
Well, that's my point. The issue is that you all seem to be extremely critical of Black women when they are being they're dressing how they want to dress. It's not for you, and it's not to create this conversation. Sha'Carri made a decision. She wanted to wear orange hair because she wanted to wear orange hair.
And
she wanted her fingernails to belong to that because I painted my nails different colors because I wanted to paint my nails different colors.
But
I don't think that this is a reason to have a full-fledged conversation and attacking me. Oh, she's ghetto, or why does she do that? And all the other things that apparently were said because this young lady decided that she wanted to be authentically herself. They ain't got nothing to do with y'all. Y'all should be focused on how fast she's running, encourage her, hope that she don't get injured, and that she's able to win the gold medal. That should be the focus. Instead, y'all focus on her hair and her nails.
And I think it goes without saying that, most brothers are just
y'all got nothing else to talk about.
We're certainly proud of her achievements on the track, and the point is not lost, by the way, for our audience. If you're not really following Olympic track and field, and why is this significant? Because the point is not lost in that we are hoping that we have a chance to overtake the Jamaican track and field team for the first time. Have a chance for the first time in a long time because we have an outstanding field of athletes, and the Jamaican track and field athletes.
And so that's going to be my other point. So Sha'Carri is headed to the Olympics, as I said. She'll be running in the 100. I don't know if she's going to be running in the 200 because I'm not sure if that finals come. Not sure if that final has happened yet. But if anybody knows, feel free to make a comment. But I know for sure that she's going to be competing in the 100. And so if she makes it to the final, and Shelly Ann Fraser-Price is from Jamaica. She's, I think, the fastest woman in the world in the 100. And then the third fastest is a Kenyan woman named Mary, I'm going to pronounce her name wrong probably, Marie Josie Talu. And if those 3 Black women are in the 100, baby,
It's gonna be fine.
you hear me?
Yeah.
So Sha'Carri ran a 10.75 at LSU, and the qualifying was her finals I think was 10.86. I'm not sure what Shelly Ann Frazier's numbers were, and I'm not sure what Talu's numbers were. But if Sha'Carri ran a 10.86, she's run a 10.75 before, which means that she can do it. That's going to be a fast race. Yeah. And so I don't know what the world record is. I think Shelly Ann Fraser-Price currently holds it. But if those 3 make it to the final, it is going to be a beast of a final. I'm excited.
It is. And so, I guess my final comment on.
Somebody said she pulled out of the 200. Okay, thank you.
And we certainly wish her well. But on your real point, which is kind of the whole personal appearance thing, and we're going to touch on this a little bit later in the show as well. I personally believe, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for people that get blowback publicly about things that they do or say publicly, because they are public figures. They know that they're public figures. They know that they're going to be on a world stage with millions of people watching. And so when you do things to bring attention to yourself, then you get attention, both good and bad. And all brothers aren't saying bad things about her appearance. Some brothers are like, man, she's fine.
Yeah, I didn't say all, but there are some.
Which you should have just as much of an issue with, because to say that she's attractive or to say that we want to get with her is the same. It's also marginalizing her accomplishments as an athlete.
I mean,
same with Serena Williams.
I think that's a fair statement. I think she's a very good looking. She's fit. She is fine. I personally don't have a problem with that. Because it's not dismissing and completely ignoring her achievements because of some artificial whatever that she's put on. She's fine because she works out. I personally don't have a problem with that. I don't think that they're the same. I do also want to shout out another Black girl that's on the track team, Allison Felix, who I think is her 5th Olympics, and this is an Olympics that she's made after she had a child,
which is ridiculous.
I saw her. Now I watched her final in the 200. Woo, baby, is it 200 or 400? 400. Baby, she came 400. Thank you. She came back, and she got into 3rd gear, that final gear, and you could tell it was a difference between someone who you could tell that she did it, that was possible because she's been there before, and she kind of kicked up But I did want to shout her out. She has a new lifestyle brand called Sashi, and I may be pronouncing it, or Sash. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but and what is beautiful about this story is she's no longer with Nike. She was with Nike before, and if you go on her Instagram page, there's a beautiful ad and a beautiful post. The folks at Nike told her to know her place when she was pushed back on the lack of maternity protections from Nike when she was negotiating her Nike contract. They wanted to pay her 70% less than what they paid her before she was pregnant. And so she was like, yeah, no. And so they told her, know your place. And so she did not renew her contract. And now she has her own lifestyle brand. So I wanted to shout her out. She's headed back to the Olympics. I'm looking forward, I said, to track is normally one of the last events, but gymnastics, I'm not sure if the finals have happened there. The young lady, Simone Manuel, she made it in the 50. She qualified for the 50. So she will be participating the 50 meters in swimming. She didn't make it to the 100.
UK has a Black female swimmer as well.
Oh, going to the finals. Okay, going to the Olympics. Okay, so there's a lot of Melanin Magic. The North Carolina A&T, everybody on their 4x400 relay team, men's relay team, made the Olympics. 2 of them will be representing America, and 2 of them will be representing their native lands. One's Mexico, and I forgot the other one. I think it's a Caribbean island, but I'm not 100% certain. But the entire 4x400 NCAA, North Carolina A&T, North Carolina A&T 4x4 track men's relay team made the Olympics. So tons of Melanin Magic in the Olympics. It is coming up. I am excited. I will be posted in front of my television screen on certain days watching. So good luck to all the Olympians.
Good luck to all the Olympians. It's a good segue into our next segment. We're going to, while we're still talking about sports, we're going to jump into the NCAA or the Supreme Court ruling that took place earlier this week as well, talking about NCAA rules and regulations. But we would also be remiss, since it is Pride Month, just to do a quick shout out. Carl Nassib, and I'm not sure how he pronounces his name because I know that the announcers were calling him Nassib when he was here. He's a football player. He's an NFL football player. And he played for the Tampa Bay Bucks for a couple of years, not this past year, but the 2 years prior. I think he's out in LA now. Is the first current professional football player to actually come out. And technically, that's not accurate. He's not the first current professional football. He's the first current active player on a roster, signed active player on a roster to come out as gay. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I've never played football at the collegiate or pro level, but I mean, I couldn't imagine the kind of scrutiny that he now knows that he is going to come under from doing that inside and outside of the locker room. But what is significant about him is he's actually a good player. I mean, he was a good player here. I think we couldn't keep him from free agency or what have you, but his stats are actually pretty impressive. And so it took a lot of courage for him to do it. And ironically, the day after his announcement, his jersey, #1 selling NFL jersey. So I think that the NFL is slowly coming around to the reality that their platform is huge, and for the players to make courageous stands. Are we talking about Colin Kaepernick again? That when their players make courageous stands, people see it, and it's not always going to be negative blowback from the people who have an issue with it. But
I think that the message, since you brought Kaepernick up, I think the message for the NFL is that when these athletes take stands and they make themselves vulnerable, that they should support them. Period. I mean,
if you're gonna sign them, you're gonna pay them. You're gonna
support them, even if you don't necessarily agree with them personally. I think that you stand with them. I think they did not stand with Cap. They should have stood with Cap. That's my personal view. I'm happy that the coaches are standing with this young man. I'm happy that he's living his truth. I hope more do it. But you have to kind of do things in your own time and space. But I think the message is that we just need to allow people to be free to be who they are, be their authentic selves, and then provide support to them and embrace them. And so kudos to, he's with the Raiders, isn't he?
He's with the Raiders. Okay. And for the cats who have played, they will tell you, and I know your brother and your cousin played at the D1 level. What they will tell you is they know which guys in the locker room are gay. They don't. It's not something that they talk about a lot. They don't ostracize them. They hang out at different. They may hang out at different spots and with different people. But in the locker room, it's pay attention to what's going on because we're trying to prepare to win football games. Right. And on the field, when that person is doing their job on the field, that's all that really matters to those guys. So I'm sure that his teammates probably say the same thing. Like, yeah, we knew Carl was gay. I mean, the thing to me, I know we have a break in a minute. Is I'm confused about why this is still a conversation and an issue. I mean, the story kind of came and went. Frankly,
I'm happy that he did it, but like I was on Clubhouse yesterday, and there was this room about whether or not gay couples should adopt. Why is it even a conversation? I mean,
that's another show.
Yeah, that's another show, but
we don't have time.
We don't. But my point is that it should, in 2021, we should not be just, oh my gosh, it's just so remarkable. Let people be who they are. If they're doing their job, I don't care. I mean, I personally don't care. If you're doing your job, and I guess that's kind of what Alan Preston would say. If you're doing your job and you know what your assignment is on the field, and you're doing it well.
You're helping the team win.
I frankly don't care anything about who you love.
You're helping the team win.
Similar to the military. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, then I frankly don't care who you love. So I think just let people be.
It's an added distraction. So we're gonna go to a break here momentarily, but we just like we promised, the NCAA had a ruling. Go ahead.
There is a question. Do you think that this would be celebrated as much had Nassib been a minority? That's a very good question.
That is an excellent question.
My take would be probably not. That's just my take, and I'm only basing that on the fact that there was a young man who was openly gay.
So I talked about that technicality. So the first current active player, he was active, but he wasn't currently signed with a team.
He came out in college.
He came out. No, he came out
before the draft. He came out before the draft because he played for Missouri.
And he did play but he did not get re-signed. He wasn't first of all, he wasn't really that great of a player, but he did in fact play. And then another player, even before that, I believe, was a kind of in between free agency.
So the answer to the question of my position is no, but we got to go to a break, and so
we're gonna come back. We're gonna deal with the Supreme Court NCAA ruling. Should players be played?
Should players be played? We'll see.
Relax my feet.
Listen to In Touch Radio anywhere. On your phone.
I'm listening right now, man.
In your car.
I'll keep that going.
On your computer. It's a new world, baby, and we are global. In Touch Radio.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Wherever we go, we about to bring on the positive vibe.
We are back. We are back. We were just talking to our Instagram family about the question that was posed by Dante. So thank you, Dante, about whether or not we thought that the player Nassib would have been celebrated with him coming out as much if he had been a minority. And we were kind of having that conversation. But
yeah, I think it's tough. Go ahead.
No, you want to go to the NCAA?
I wanted to touch on this. So the Supreme Court ruled, it was a lower court decision that they, I believe that they upheld, that talks about college athletes and their ability to benefit from compensation. And the compensation is loosely defined here, or actually it's more specifically defined, because what this ruling said is it's limiting the NCAA's ability to tell a school if they can, or to limit compensation that's education related for athletes. Now, what does that mean in English? What that means in English, and a lot of people have made a lot about the comments that the justices made, but what that means in English is if you have a kid who is in need of serious academic support, like laptops and internships and study abroad programs, which is really a part of the academic experience at this point, not like when we was back in the early 1900s, but now it's a significant part. So can the NCAA limit schools' ability to do that? And the answer is no. Mm-hmm. And the energy behind that is that the NCAA is this huge nonprofit that makes billions of dollars because they have the ability to regulate college athletics and amateur sports. So what that ruling did was what in a lot of people's minds is just going to open the floodgates to players being played. So you go out there, you play football, the school says, all right, well, I'll pay you this much for playing on a team. And that's going to vary based on how good you are. And that's going to vary based on whether you're a superstar or not a superstar. And the answer is not so fast, not so much. So I have an issue with how, yes, it was a unanimous decision. Yes, Justice.
It wasn't
the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upheld. Yeah, I thought it was unanimous that they upheld the lower court ruling. This particular one.
I'll look it up. I don't remember.
Well, I'm married to a lawyer for a reason. But here was what makes it significant is that one of the more conservative justices, which is Kavanaugh, came out with some pretty blistering statements, and that was his opinion. So it's taking justices, what they say is usually a precursor for future court challenges. But it was his opinion that it's a travesty that the NCAA thinks that any other, because it's all about
you were correct. You were in
I'm always right.
No, you're not. You're not always correct, but you were right in this instance.
But that they would have in any other industry that they would have the ability to have that much control over paying athletes. So I think that this is significant. I personally think it's significant in one way and one way only. Two ways, I should say. One is the types of players that are going to benefit from being able to profit from their name, image, and likeness, and the type of players who are going to get laptops and overseas, abroad, study abroad assignments and those kind of things, aren't necessarily the same players that we're talking about, right? So you have superstar athletes, name, image, and likeness, which I think is a big nothing burger.
Which is separate and apart from this ruling.
Separate and apart, but they say, oh, this is going to mean we're going to pay the players. This is a big nothing burger because, at the collegiate level, it's still demand based. People want to see Deshaun Watson when he was quarterback at Clemson. People want to see Tim Tebow when he was quarterback at University of Florida. Those are marquee names, marquee players, marquee faces. The vast majority of kids who are playing ball are not going to make $1 million off of their face being plastered on a billboard,
or even their name on a jersey,
or their name on a jersey, because it's still a demand-based business. Number one. Number two is that level of athlete gets cash. They get cash under the table. They get cash mysteriously showing up in bank accounts. They get cash. They get their mamas get cash.
That's violation.
Their mamas get brand new cars in the driveway. All violations. All I'm saying is that was going on before, and that will continue to go on. And again, it's a demand-based business. Not all athletes who you see on Saturday afternoon playing are going to enjoy that level of benefit. They're just not. What say you?
Okay, so. Just for clarification, what the Supreme Court ruled on this week is very different than the name, image, and likeness, which is what Keith is talking about. So the name, image, and likeness, from my understanding, you have EA Sports, jerseys, people using people's likeness to sell products, all those things. The argument there is that athletes should get paid for the use of their name, image, or likeness if it was assigned to sell a product, which I agree with. I remember very clearly there was an EA Sports game, NCAA game for college football, and there was a guy that played for Kent State that was my brother's height, was my brother's position, was not really from his hometown, but was close to the hometown. So it was not hard. We had my brother's same number. So it was not a hard stretch to identify who this particular player was when you're playing this game. My brother had to show it to us. I was like, well, wow. And for me, I was like, well, you're not getting anything from that because that's clearly you. If you look at, you're looking at the media guy, it's clearly you. So I'm cool with the name, image, and likeness. I think it's about time that happens. This particular case, and to be clear, is because it's talking about educational benefits. So along the lines with what Keith said. And I agree with the decision because, student athletes, they don't like, when we just realized, we just learned this, not learned, but, we had a fundraiser. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago that we did a fundraiser for FAMU's athletic fund a few weeks ago. And we asked each of the coaches what their need was. It was a head football coach, head women's basketball, head men's basketball coach, and the athletic director. And we asked what the greatest need was. And aside from like the things, nutritional needs, which, the athletes need during practice and helps the level of the playing field and improve their performance. Every other coach said summer school. Some of these kids are in summer school and their scholarships do not pay for summer school. Now, I don't know if that's true for for like the UFs or the Florida States. I presume that it is the same, that summer school is not paid for. But if you're in summer school and you have a kid who doesn't have the ability to call his parents and say, Mom and Dad, can you send me some cash for some food? These kids are going hungry during the summer, but they're still on campus. Correct. And they may not be able to work, or if they are they can't make over a certain amount of money. So there's all these different restrictions that are put on these student athletes. And you're understanding that a lot of these kids come from very meager means, and they don't have the ability or the resources to go and to ask their parents to put some money in a bank account for them to help them eat every day. And so there's going to have, I think the tide is changing. I think it's beyond time for the tide to change, because these universities and these athletic programs are making, particularly D1s, are making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars off of these student athletes in all sports. I mean, obviously, if you're a football school, that's kind of where most of the revenue is generated, but they're making millions of dollars off of all of these athletes, and these students are not being compensated. And they're essentially employees for all intents and purposes.
And there are certain basketball programs. Louisville's basketball program, Kentucky's basketball program, Georgetown's basketball program, North Carolina's basketball program makes just as much money because they play more and they play more games, and the guys aren't being paid. So, I guess I've been one of the individuals that I've been more on the, I don't know what to call it, a liberal or conservative side of this argument. I'm okay with paying the athletes, and somebody even suggested in one of the articles that you just carve out the big D1 sports that are making the billions of dollars, and then let everyone else.
But then you run into Title IX issues with that.
Exactly. But I'm not against paying the guys. I just highly doubt if there is a mechanism that all sides are going to agree to make it fair and equitable. And the most impactful thing that I pulled from the events of the week, or pulled from the ruling and Kavanaugh's comments, was him really kind of opening the door to maybe what they should do is organize, in other words, collective bargaining, which would allow them to negotiate what that salary should be. Because on the one hand is the employer who's making money off of you, who has a vested interest in you continuing to work. So if you give those athletes the ability to organize themselves and threaten to stop working, well, now you kind of force them to the table to say, well, what about quarterbacks get this much, and then running backs get this much, and whatever, and just make it fair and equitable across the board. So now you got a collective bargain. Now you're listening to somebody who spent his entire career, fighting labor unions. Not because I'm anti-union, but I've always been on the management side. So I do think that that's probably the most intriguing and maybe even the most realistic solution to all of this. So are you going to tell us how Trick Daddy got canceled?
Okay, so I'm excited about this one. So backdrop. I like Beyonce. I'm sure the Beehive will be on me when I say this.
You don't think she can sing?
I never
Our
said
show
that.
has just got canceled.
That's not true.
Thanks for joining us, folks.
I never said that.
What?
She's not my favorite singer. I think she's a phenomenal performer. I think she's a phenomenal entertainer. Otherwise, she wouldn't have the Grammys and the money and the power that she does. So let me start by there. She's not my favorite voice. That's just me. I would never say that she can't sing. She's not my favorite voice. I think that there are people who have stronger voices than she does. It's just Monica's personal opinion. So Beehive can come after me if they want. I said what I said. So what Trick Daddy did, so y'all on Clubhouse, be careful, because people, even you're not supposed to record on Clubhouse, people are recording.
It's still a social media.
Yeah, it's still social media. So Trick was in a Clubhouse room, and someone recorded him, and they shouldn't have recorded him. But he said Beyonce can't sing, and apparently somebody recorded it and put it on Twitter. Yeah. And he said, this is a quote, he says, Beyonce ain't trying to give back to music or nothing. Beyonce don't write music and barely can sing her MF self. Beyonce can't sing. So that's what apparently.
So let's start with the fact that all of those statements are inaccurate. Let's start there.
That's true.
Okay.
That is true.
Okay,
So she does get back to music. She is philanthropic. I don't know about the writing music thing.
Beyonce. So when y'all go back and listen to Destiny's Child. I don't know who writes because I'm not really following her as closely now. Go back to the Destiny's Child's albums, the albums that made them famous, and see who wrote those songs.
She probably did. I'm not going to debate that. She probably does.
Okay.
And he said she can barely sing. So that's his opinion. Whether it's rooted in, and we've learned over the last 4 years, that some people's opinions are not always based in fact, frequently. So it's factually inaccurate, but his opinion, so the first two are definitely the first three. She doesn't get back to music. She doesn't write music. Those two, factually inaccurate. However, the second part is that she can barely sing and Beyonce can't sing. That's his opinion.
Adding that his godmama gave her voice lessons, which has not been independently corroborated.
Okay, well, either way, that's Trick's opinion. So the Beehive does.
It was ugly.
Somebody tweeted it. It went viral. And Trick Daddy has a restaurant down in Miami. And I don't know the name of it. I'll look it up real quick.
You still don't know the name of this restaurant?
It's because I've never been.
Okay.
But it's a very popular restaurant.
Yes.
And apparently the food is very good. So the Beehive, what they did was they went on to Google reviews or something.
Sunday's Eatery.
And Yelp, all those different places where you can leave reviews for food, and left horrible reviews like that there were roasts. People have never been there, probably have no idea who Trick Daddy is, Trick Daddy Dollar is, because he's been out of the game for a minute. But went onto his onto the reviews for Yelp and the food reviews, left him terrible reviews saying that there were roaches in the food and just making stuff up, and then took his thing down. So like his stars went from like 4.5 to like 2.
Yeah. So the algorithms basically punished him because there was all of this content out there that was trashing his restaurant, and so his Google reviews went down significantly. And now there's kind of in my opinion, there is a happy ending to this story. In my opinion, because number one, Trick Daddy is not Beyonce, right? So you're talking about somebody who's on this level. And that's not saying that people don't like him. He doesn't have thousands of fans, but he's not on Beyonce's level. So he said something about somebody who was a mega star, and then the blowback from that was that mega star's fans came after him and really put Sunday's Eatery, in my opinion, on a scale that nobody would have even known. I didn't even know Trick Daddy had a restaurant.
I did, but I'm from South Florida.
But you are from South Florida.
Yeah.
So here's my point. The reason why this story was funny to me is because it would have been a story, right? This is why I was like, hopefully he said, thank you, Beyonce. It would have been a story had Beyonce said something about him. Had Beyonce said something about, well, I was in South Florida and people were telling me to go to Trick Daddy's restaurant, and I was like, who is Trick Daddy? I'm not going to go to his restaurant.
I'm sure she knows who Trick Daddy is.
She probably does, because he is a very popular artist. But had she played him that way and then went to perform in South Florida, and thousands of Trick Daddy fans showed up, blocked her motorcade, and made her stink, and so she was late to her performance, then it would be a story. And the reason why is because it would be the whole Goliath kind of thing coming to fruition. But that's not what happened. What Trick got was exactly what he deserved. You don't go after Beyonce.
I disagree. And
Jay-Z.
I disagree.
And Jay-Z, especially if you're a rapper. You just don't do that.
He has the right to.
He has a right
to form his opinion.
Yep.
I thought it was out of pocket and inappropriate for the Beehive to do that when he's voicing his opinion. You don't have to agree with the man, but this is my issue. So Trick Daddy's restaurant was popular. It's in Miami Gardens, which is a predominantly Black community. He's from the area.
Yep.
We went to high school down there. They went to Northwestern. Trick is Miami-Dade County, period. And if you're from South Florida, you are a Trick Daddy fan. Right. Have been. Name is Maurice. So I think my grandma taught him. But anyway, so he has a restaurant, and it's a very popular restaurant with or without the Beehive. The lines apparently were out the door. The name of the restaurant is called Sunday's Eatery. Sunday's Eatery. So you're welcome. The lines were out the door before this. People knew. Okay. People in Miami. I want to go and visit. Now. People in Miami knew. Apparently, his deep fried ribs. But people in Miami knew about Trick Daddy's restaurant. Here's my issue. So yes, he voiced his opinion. You disagree with his opinion, but coming after the man's restaurant in an attempt to shut it down, I think is a step too far. You can criticize and say, Trick, you don't know what you're talking about. When was the last time you released an album? Do all the type of stuff that people typically do, but to try to cancel this man's restaurant, he's employing Black people in a Black neighborhood, and he is pouring into the Black community in Miami Gardens. I think it is foul. I think it is a step too far. Beehive went too far. I think it is ridiculous. And so people can voice their opinion, But they go crazy. The Beehive goes, anytime you say something against Beyonce that they don't like, they come after you in an attempt to cancel you. And I think,
not new.
But I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous and immature. I have the right to my opinion.
You're correct, and you're not a popular performer.
And that's fine. That's the right to my opinion.
And he's traveled all over the world, so he knows how this game works. There's no such thing as bad publicity. So when he said what he said in that room, he knew the potential for the blowback, and he got exactly what he should have known was coming. So my only thing is, again, it goes back to the young lady with the orange hair. When you know the power of your platform and you put certain things out there to draw attention to it, then you're going to get whatever it is that you get. So I personally don't have sympathy for him. Trick is Trick. It's whatever. We all grew up listening to his music or whatever, dancing and partying to his music. However, in this particular case, for him to go after that particular individual,
but that's his opinion.
If it was a rap beef and he was just going after another rapper,
it's an opinion that is shared by lots of people. He's not the only person that feels that way. And this is what he said about Jay-Z. Apparently, he said, "I'm gonna give an unpopular opinion right now. Beyonce is to R&B what Jay-Z is to New York. That's why they're together. Jay-Z ain't never won the greatest rapper alive. Whoever put him on a level like that." There are people that would say that is accurate. Let me finish. There are people that they like Jay, but they wouldn't say he's the best rapper. I like Jay-Z, but I was a little concerned when he was calling himself Yehovah or whatever. I thought that was a little weird, but I like Jay-Z. And I'm not a huge hip hop fan, but there are some people that would argue that Jay-Z would not be Jay-Z. We've actually had this conversation. Okay. Jay-Z would not be Jay-Z if Biggie was still alive. I've heard people also say, I've heard people also say that Beyonce wouldn't be Beyonce if Aaliyah was still alive.
Ooh.
I've heard that. And there are some people that we can have that conversation on another show, but there are some people that say that. There are some people that say that. There are some people that believe that. And we'll never know because Aaliyah and Biggie are no longer here. But my point is, and the reason I want to talk about this is this whole cancel culture thing. We go too far. We're not allowing people to have a legitimate opinion. That is Trick's opinion. The previous comment was, about him not writing music and stuff. It has to be based in fact. But whether or not he believes she can sing, that is Maurice's opinion. Maurice is entitled to his opinion. I think it is flawed and out of pocket and out of order to come for his restaurant and attempt to shut that down. That's my only point.
All right. Well, listen. That's it. It's good fodder. Obviously, it's very entertaining. No. I think some of it is ridiculous. Look, Jay-Z is Jay-Z not because Biggie opened the door for him. That's completely ridiculous. Rap is rap, and Trick Daddy is not. He's not one top 5 lyricist of all time. When you start having these debates,
he never suggested he was.
Well, so you don't go after Jay-Z.
That's not true. You don't go after Jay-Z because why? Because he's not entitled to his opinion. Because
you're a rapper. No, because you're a rapper. You and I don't go after other video podcast hosts. That's not what we do, and we're not going to. So if you're out there doing this and you're in this medium, do you? We're cool with you, and more power to you. I'm not going to go after somebody who's in.
Okay, so we go. So let's use the example. We go after Cookman. We're FAMU people. We go after Cookman.
Cookman is fair game.
Okay, so Black HBCU. Well, they're in the same pocket. HBCUs in Florida, we're rivals. We go after them, and we go after them hard.
Why would you send your time out there?
I'm just saying, so people can cancel us. People can cancel us.
Y'all know better than that. First of all, we're typical.
It's too much.
We're typical Florida. We're typical Florida family. So in most of our families in Florida, for those of you who don't know, and maybe you're not from this area, and maybe you're not from an HBCU, but our families are created in Florida. For half the family went to FAMU and the other half went to Bethune-Cookman. So this happens ad nauseum. Like this just goes on and on and on. So we have people who we know, love, and trust.
Correct.
Who went to Bethune-Cookman. And they will still get this smoke. And so I use as an example. If we got on here and we said, and I'm just going to use this as an example, Cookman people, don't y'all try to cancel me now when I say this. If I said Bethune-Cookman ain't nothing but a high school, right? That's not, if I said that, like I'm using this as an example. I'm using this as an example to prove a point relative to Trick. If that's what I said,
right? That could be my opinion. Is it then fair for Cookman to get on and try to cancel? Let's say we're getting paid to do this. We eventually would like to. But let's say that this is income for us. Would it be fair for Cookman to get on and say false things about us? Because the issue is that the people the Beehive that we're getting on making reviews are saying false things about the restaurant. It's different if you've been to the restaurant.
Fair. It would be 100% fair. Well, because at that point, to
say false things because they didn't like my opinion.
Because listen, people say false things about popular. If you're a celebrity, people say false things about you all the time. And they'll hear rumors, or they'll go to the grocery store and they'll see on the things of Brad and Jennifer. Did you know that they had an alien baby? And they'll start repeating those things
with the intent to harm that person financially.
With the intent to do whatever. But I think that's the problem. Okay, so listen, we got love for Bethune-Cookman. I use that as an example. Please don't cancel us. Please continue.
But now when Classic comes, all bets are off.
You probably don't want to watch the show.
I'm telling you, I'm not going to tell you what I'm saying. No telling what I'll say then.
Because we already don't like y'all because y'all done beat us 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years I use that as an example. I really do love Bethune-Cookman. My uncle went there. But I'm using it as an example that I don't think that it's fair because I voiced my opinion in the same realm, right? We're both, very, football, passionate about our schools. Yes. That because in this medium, I voice an opinion is unpopular for if this was our livelihood, right? That the Cookman Nation, the Wildcat Nation, would then go on to review us and affects our income stream because of something that I said in the midst of just a rivalry that everybody knows is a rivalry. Yeah. I don't think that so my issue with this particular situation is not that they were mad, not that they came for Trick and criticized him for his bad opinion and the fact that they disagreed with it, but the fact that they went onto Yelp and all these different review spaces and left false reviews in a specific.
They were actually snarky.
They were snarky and false. Somebody said they had roaches in their food.
The food was bad. Oh, but the lemonade was wonderful. So I mean, it was obviously intended. I don't think their intent was to shut his restaurant down.
No,
I think their intent was to say, "Don't come after Beyonce." And honestly,
I think it's a step too far.
Well, okay. So that's our opinion. That's our opinions for today's show. And we want to thank you for joining. We're going to give its due. I was going to get into this whole thing about why gun violence is on the rise because it was a subject that came up during the month, subject that came up during this week. So we're going to dedicate a show to why we believe violence in general is on the rise, and we're going to speak directly into the hearts and minds of our community because this really is it's a community issue. Doesn't mean that the broader community isn't suffering from it, but it is a much deeper issue. But I had a lot of fun today.
I did too. I do want to say shout out to the Attorney General for filing a lawsuit against the state of Georgia for their new voting legislation. The lawyer in me is excited about what's going to happen with that. But
why was the lawsuit filed?
Because Georgia has a voter suppression law, and they enacted a voter suppression law, and the DOJ said not having it. So
the DOJ said that we're going to file suit against you because you actually passed that law
in an attempt to disenfranchise and to suppress and disenfranchise Black voters, and that was your intent, and they're suing them. So kudos to the Department of Justice.
The month of June is over. Celebration of Black music and Pride Month. So,
all right, y'all.
We had fun.
So,
thank you for joining us.
Thank you. We will be back. Are we
next week is 4th of July. Please be careful. Be safe.
Yes.
Don't make fireworks inside your house, and go to the fireworks shows.
And wear Juneteenth stuff because 4th of July we were not yet free. So wear Juneteenth stuff again. That's what I'm going to do. Wear Juneteenth stuff again next week.
Thank you for joining us here on In Touch News, Internet radio heard all over the world.
See you next week.